it's Hillary. I am, I guess, what you would call a gluten-free galaxy, or one of the many people that make gluten-free galaxy. And so what I wanted to do today was just give you a quick rundown of how you will make our bread flour. Everything is going to come in your bag, ready to go. Everything that you would have in there is actually in this bowl now. So your yeast will come in separate packets, and then all the flour you've just dumped into here, and I've just opened up the yeast and poured it in. That being said, and then we have our additional grapeseed oil, which is like right about a 3/4 cup, or it's at, I believe it's 150 grams. Depends on how you're measuring or if you have a scale. I always suggest having a scale. And then for water, we have hot water because we need to activate the yeast. And that needs to be between 120 and 130, and you need to temp it. I'm not joking. I got a lot of folks that were asking how do you make bread the right way with gluten-free, and I think that some people are probably forgetting that you've got to temp the water. It can't just be warm. You've got to check it to make sure it's at the right temp. Also, I've turned my little oven into a hot box or a proofing oven. I have a little bit of water in a glass in the bottom just to give a little bit of humidity, and then I have my temperature gauges here. You probably want it to be about 90 degrees, but that just depends on where you're at. So that being said, make sure you turn your oven on and then turn it off so that it's around 90 degrees. I put both a freezer thermometer and an oven thermometer in there so I can keep it in between, because I don't have one that just reads regular all the way down to 0. So that being said, we're going to take the bowl full of our ingredients, and my water is now down to the proper temp. If it is too hot, it will kill the yeast. If it is too cold, it won't work either. So make sure you temp your water. Also, I'm taking my little bread pan that I'm going to use, and I use a little wandy guy that has some shortening on it, and then I just wipe it all around. I don't like the way it feels on my hands, so I don't like to use my fingers. And then I just dust a tiny bit of the flour onto the pan to make sure it doesn't stick. So that's what I have, and we're going to give it a spin. Please remember, do not use your whisk. If you would like, when you get the flour, you can dump the flour into your bowl, and then you can use your whisk just to make sure the ingredients are all kind of mixed in. But don't use this to beat your bread, or you want to use the paddle. So the paddle attachment right here. Otherwise, it's not going to flow very well. So that being said, we are going to dump our water, and I like to put it down in the mixer. Oh, and I'm spilling. Okay, and then I immediately start dumping my oil. And I'm kind of just letting it spin for a minute so it can soak up the liquid. You don't want to turn it on high right now, or it will just everywhere. So now that it's got a little go, lock down your mixer. And we have flax in there, so you're basically going to need to let that soak up. So we're just going to let this beat for just a minute. Actually, I shouldn't generalize. I'm probably going to let it beat for about a minute, 30 seconds to 2 minutes. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll turn you right back on again. We're back. Just so you know, I currently have this on speed like 8. You can keep it at like 6 or 7 if you'd like. I just was trying to speed the process a little bit for you. So we'll go ahead and stop this. And you can see behind me, I actually checked while we were waiting. I checked the oven temp with it off, right? Because it's basically a proofing box right now, and my temp is too high. We're above that 90 degrees that we want to be at. So I've just got it open, and I want it to just cool down a bit before we put it in there. But that's okay because we've got to dump this out. So to unlock your mixer. And look at that gooey bingo, we have bread, people. Okay, so can you see it? This, you can kind of check out the texture of it. It's gooey, that is for sure. So then what we're going to do, we're going to scrape it down. I just like to get every little bit that I can. So now we will, or are planning to, do a version of the bread flour that doesn't have flax in it as well, because we know we have some of our friends that they can't have the flax. And then we will also be doing, at least again is the plan, a refined sugar-free version as well. So it's just that the refined sugar-free, the substitute that I really like is actually really expensive because it's the best tasting thing I have found, and it doesn't give, I tend to get headaches with some sugar substitutes, and so, well, pretty much all except for this one, and I want to use the good stuff, right, because we don't like to compromise. So I won't bore you with my cleaning of this, but now we're going to scrape down the sides of our bowl. As you're doing this, just make sure that you don't have any like giant chunks of like flour in the bottom. And if you do, just throw it back on for just a little while just to get it all mixed in, because you want to make sure everything in there is nice and mixed in. All right. Now, gluten-free, at least ours. It's sticky. It's usually kind of a pain in the butt. But it's delicious. So, let's see. So you can see it's just like, literally, like it's sticky. So, if you are using anything aside from like a loaf pan where you're just going to plop it in, what we do is we use like a scoop. So if you have these, or if you want to order them, they're actually sized by ounce amount. So like, for example, if you're making dinner rolls, like what we do is we'll just scoop that little guy flat on the edge, and then, because then it just pops right in, poof, and you're not dealing with like it's stuck to your hands. And you can get even sized units instead of like, this one's huge and this one's tiny. Baking, which is sometimes hard for me, in regards to like, baking is very heavy in regards to like measurements and like actually following recipes. I tend to get a little crazy and creative, and that's why I love to cook. But in baking, you need to follow the science, because it will jack your stuff up. And if you don't know how to fix it, you will be very ticked. And stuff's not cheap. So anyway, tangenting. Sorry, I do that. Okay, so I'm gonna see how much we fill of this little loaf pan. I'm actually gonna tare it too, because I like to know the weights of what we're actually doing. If you don't have a scale, get one. You'll survive, but get one. Because it will be a lifesaver later. Because my cup versus your cup is a different cup, right? I mean, literally by manufacturer, by personal preference, by whether or not you pack it down, or, you know, just kind of the way you were raised to cook and measure things. Everybody's cup or teaspoon is different, which is definitely something we've learned in the bakery and having employees, right, is everybody is going to make a recipe completely different unless you literally have the gram or ounce amount. And I used to go by ounces, but grams are they're just kind of the standard, and they're a little bit easier to work with across the board, and you can get really precise with them. So, all right. Now, I don't think I mentioned it, but it should say on your recipe, the oil that I used is a grapeseed oil. That is what we use. It is a great oil. It can go high temp, and it's not canola. I don't do canola. So, next tip. See how sticky our dough is? Well, here's my loaf, right? It needs to be prettier than that. So, if you go to stick every time, you're just going to get more junk in there, right? So, what we do, we fill this with just a little bit of water. See? Boop. And what I do to get it flat, I'm not sure if you can see this, is I will just, hold on, clean off this finger, it's really bothering me. I will stick this guy into the water dish, and then I will just like flatten it down, because you see how when it's wet, it doesn't stick as bad. So I just kind of do that, and then I flatten it all out. Don't go all OCD like I do sometimes and like do it forever, because you can like mess with the bread too much and then it'll ruin it. But push it down, make sure it's really pushed down in the corners, because otherwise you're going to get those air pockets and that stinks. So I'm going to push down. I didn't have a very good day today. Not that you care. So this is actually a really nice distraction. So this loaf better come out perfect. So see how I'm getting it? I'm just kind of flattening the whole thing out. Getting it all the way into the corners. Sometimes what I like to do is I'll like kind of jam like this, just to kind of make sure I don't have any big air pockets in there. And then I just flatten it all out. Now, I'm sure there's like a bajillion ways to do this. This is just the way that I do it with our recipe, right? So if you're using a different recipe or someone else's recipe or flour, right, because this is with our bread flour, they may be giving you different tips, and they could very well be right. I am not some fancy food science degree person, and I am not, I guess I wouldn't be called myself like a trained chef or anything. So again, this is just what we do. This is the way I do it at our shop, and if you're using our flour, right, then this is how we know it's going to turn out well. If you don't have our flour or you haven't tried it, you just go to gfgalaxy.com and you can order it. We're going to release a bunch of different flour blends, and I'm pretty excited about it because we launched nationwide shipping of our finished products, like our actually like baked and ready to go products. We launched that in March, and sometimes it's just hard with the heat and the shipping and logistics, especially right now, thanks to the vid. Okay, I'm going to close that back up because it's right about 90 degrees, so I want this to go in it when it's at 90 degrees. So again, that oven is off. It is not on. You do not want to start baking it. You just want it to be warm enough in there that the yeast has a proper space to rise, because depending on where you live, it can take a lot longer. And like at the shop, we have fancy, nice proofers, and so things will rise a lot faster. And I think I could guess, because that's how I am, a lot of folks that are trying at home baking are having frustrations with their bread because they're probably not waiting long enough. They're probably like, oh my gosh, it's been an hour or it's been 45 minutes and I just want to get this in the oven, you know. It really depends. It depends on your altitude. It depends on your humidity. It depends on how cold you like your house. I'm kind of weird, so I keep my house at like 76 right now, so it even takes a long time in that. So keep saying so. My bad. This is what you got. This is what it looks like. It's just nice and like flattened out. Sorry, my finger. Yeah. So this is what the loaf's going to look like. We are now going to put it into the oven, aka our proofer. Again, the oven is off. It looks to be right at about 90 degrees, and we will set my timer. I went with the old school one, but I don't totally love it. So, but we're just gonna set it for 59 minutes, and then we'll see where it's at with that. I will not bore you with that, but I will just to follow up what I was talking about earlier on our flour blends. This is something it's, sorry, I'm like not a professional at this, but our products are, everything we do is free from gluten, soy, corn, canola, nut, dairy, and egg automatically. And we use a higher quality ingredient. So, for those of you, for example, that don't know, powdered sugar actually is almost always cut with cornstarch, and we are corn-free, which means our powdered sugar is really expensive. But it was important for us to remove that allergen, and when the COVID hit, we lost our source for that. So then we were buying it at Trader Joe's by the pound, and we blend the bread flour in about 500-pound batches right now, which is like nothing compared to the big guys. But for us, we used to use that in like a month. And now we go through that in less than a week, before even selling the flour blends, just in product we make. So to say that we needed a bit more powdered sugar than that would be an understatement. And cutting every single 1-pound bag is a time-consuming labor thing. Also, the price was 3 to 4 times what we were paying before. But we did not want to remove using that type of powdered sugar because it was important for us to maintain that we were corn-free. And we don't compromise on the quality there. And in turn, we've just been eating that cost. So we now are making our own powdered sugar in-house. Now that we can do that, we have the right machines. That being said, we are also now milling a lot of our own stuff, which is a whole nother project, which is fun because I love that. But we are milling a lot of our ingredients, really as many as I can get my hands on to mill, we're milling it. And that is why we can actually make it affordable enough to sell the flour blends. I guess my point is we've gotten a lot of feedback over the last few years that our product price point is a little bit higher, right? For us, this is my house. It is not a set. I don't live the fancy good life. I don't drive a fancy car. But, I mean, I live the good life. It's just not all that fancy. But I guess my point is we're not, like, raking in the dough with those price points. Those price points are because we're bootstrapped, which, if you don't know, bootstrap means we started from nothing. So we started in a 22-foot box truck U-Haul that my dad and I converted into a fully licensed commercial kitchen with less than, like, $4,000. So we're completely customer funded. So every new machine, every new everything goes right back in the business. And now we're really growing, which is wonderful, but we are also still customer funded. So we have to charge what we charge when it comes to our finished good products because of labor, because of overhead, because of all those things and the higher quality ingredients. But my point is, sometime I'll get to it. When it came to the flour blends, I started doing the costing, and I wanted to really make sure that the flour blends would be something that could be more affordable for everybody. I know that a lot of people complain about the price points for flour blends, and I understand that. I was very concerned that we wouldn't be able to be very affordable because of the fact we're not really milling as much as a lot of these other guys, right? They're milling or blending like thousands of pounds at a time. I'm literally milling. the ingredients, and then we're blending like 500 pounds at a time right now. Fingers crossed. Hopefully it goes well and we can do it more. But I'm making a point to make sure that these flour blends, we're going to come in either, at least as of right now, which is, I believe, September 12th, 2020. We want to offer these at or below kind of the average for our industry, which, you know, again, isn't going to make me rich, probably, but there's a lot of people that really love us and support us, and I love them very much. Like, this is a labor of love, and it's my baby. I don't have any kiddos or a husband or anything, so this is my life, and I love it, and it's important to me that everybody gets to share that, because my family, like, breaking bread or eating, right, is like a big deal, and so I want kids to be able to do stuff in the kitchen with their mom, even if their mom's not maybe an expert, or like you want to make something for somebody and you're not quite sure, but they're gluten-free and you just don't get it, and long story short, I want to make it affordable enough that everybody gets to enjoy it. So, that being said, you can buy our products at gfgalaxy.com. We're going to be launching a bunch of fun ones, and I'm excited. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it works. I hope you guys love it. And I'm sorry if I tangent too much of these videos. I just thought it would be really important, instead of just putting the recipe on the box, to show you, because I'm a visual learner. I don't tick like everybody else, obviously, and so I learn different ways, and that'd be fun. So please subscribe if you like it, and please feel free to leave any comments, or if you have like a flour blend that you really want to see or try or have us like make, please let us know. And then also, if there's any recipes, feel free to say that as well. Like, I've seen recently on a lot of the Facebook groups I'm on that people have been asking about chicken pot pies. We actually make chicken pot pies. That was one of the first things we started selling when COVID hit, because I love me some chicken pot pie. And we have a killer pie recipe. Still figuring out if we're going to do that one or not. But just because of the difficulty. Some of these things really truly are, you'll see, they're kind of a pain in the keister. And I just don't want the consumer to get frustrated and upset if it's too difficult for them to make. So I was thinking I would maybe teach how to make like the pie filling. I mean, even my normies really love my chicken pot pie. And then I also make a really killer fried chicken. So I thought maybe it'd be fun to sell the rub, or to show you how I make my fried chicken. So again, it doesn't have to be a baked recipe, but if there's something you're curious about or something you want to see, please leave it in the comments or shoot us an email. I think one of the other things I may do, and maybe let me know if this is a good idea, is I was thinking about maybe going over like egg replacers. I know that that's hard. And then also gums, meaning not like bubble gum, like xanthan gum, and like different, I guess, gum / binders. A lot of folks that don't use them very often don't seem to understand like when to use them, when not to use them. Same with like starches. It's like a weird, complicated science game. And literally, I'm telling you, like, I was no chef or baker when I started this business, but I'm kind of a nerd, so I like to figure things out. And as I bake all through the night, I like to watch and read even more things. So I will stop yammering at you. Follow us on social, please, or subscribe here. Hit the like button and the subscribe button, wherever it is. And I will now come back to you when our bread has risen. Thanks. We're back. I put a sweater on. It was a little cold. Like I said, if I'm cold, the bread's probably cold. But our timer just went off, so we're gonna check it and see how it did. Oh, what do we have here? Check it out. Boom. If you remember, it was like down here, right? So it's now risen quite a bit, and you can, I don't know if you can see, but you can kind of see there's like almost like this sheeny shell on it. Like, you have to really poke it to really penetrate it. And I mean, it's like, remember how sticky it was? So we're pretty much good to go. Now our oven has been off, right? Because I don't have two ovens. So we're gonna turn this guy on. We're gonna preheat it. The oven temp we like to do it at is, I think on the home oven, you know, it's gonna be a little bit different, but everybody's oven will be different, I guess is what I mean. So you'll want to make sure to pay attention. Again, we'll have a thermometer. The internal temp on the loaf, so you'll like want to stick it right into like the thickest part of it. You'll want to hit 207, 208. Depends on how brown you like your bread. But we are going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Now, this is important. I keep talking about temperatures. My oven, even when I turn it to 350 and it says beep, preheat, it is not at 350. I actually have to turn it up quite a bit higher than that. So I fully recommend getting this little guy here. It's just like a really simple little, let's see it. It's an oven thermometer. So you can leave it in there and it won't hurt it. If you really want to bake things and you want to do it right, get one of these. I just lay mine flat so I can see it. We are going to preheat it to 350 degrees. And then we are going to put it in. Now, at work, in our big commercial ovens, it usually only is like, well, on a loaf, it's different, remember? So it's going to be different from a bun to a hoagie to a dinner roll. But those little guys are usually like 7-8 minutes, flip. So we say flip and rotate, meaning pull the tray out, flip it around, and then rotate the oven rack. That way it's kind of cooking evenly throughout the whole entire process. Now, some people are going to have a much fancier, nicer oven than maybe what I have. And so, again, you're going to want an oven thermometer if you want to do it right. You better have an internal thermometer. Mine is literally like, I'm pretty sure like a meat thermometer. I mean, I am not fancy over here. Maybe someday. I mean, there's lots of gizmos that are really long. But I just use a simple, like, this is what I was using in the water. It's just like one of these guys, you know. I mean, it's just like a little simple, super simple meat thermometer. I mean, obviously I don't stick it in meat. You could, I guess, and then just wash it if you're not vegan or vegetarian. So I'll stop rambling. We're going to wait for that to preheat. We're going to check it to make sure it is at 350. And then this bad boy is probably going to be in there for at least, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, 45 minutes. I'm going to test mine, and then I'm going to show you along the way, and then we'll kind of show you what that final timeline looks like. Why do I not have a more precise time for you? Because every single one of your ovens is going to be different. I would say generally probably going to take you 45 minutes to an hour to cook the loaf, all the way up to 207. I think we do like 207, 208. You can go to 210. Again, it depends on how brown you want it. Now, all of that being said, when you pull the loaf or any of the bread out of the oven, do not just go cutting into it. This recipe has xanthan gum in it. Xanthan gum, it's not exactly done when it comes out of the oven. So you want to let the bread rest. What we do when the loaf comes out, because of the moisture in the bread, we actually will pull the loaf out and we'll dump it onto a cooling rack and then flip it over, right, so it can cool properly, so that it doesn't get like, you know, all that moisture in the loaf pan doesn't make it soggy, or, you know. So whether it's that or dinner rolls or what have you, unless it's on like a mesh or kind of grated pan, I like to flip it, and I like to let it have some air as it cools, and plus it'll cool a bit faster. But you will want to let whatever item it is, bread-wise, rest. So I would say, I mean, you're going to want to give it at least 15, 20 minutes to rest, minimum. Because it really needs time to let that all set, and then you'll be good to go. But I'm going to preheat the oven, pop it in, and then I will show you guys I'll show you about 30 minutes in, because, you know, I like to tangent, so I'll stop now, but I will show you guys along the way. So now that your loaf is proofed, has been proofing, right? And again, just to cover it, it was like down here when we put it in. So it is definitely growing in size, and it's got that nice, see that sheen on it? It's definitely like a solid. We're gonna pop it in. I'm actually kind of excited. I mean, I don't normally get to show people, we just do it all day long. But I'll be back. Guys, my timer just went off, so I believe that was a 30-minute timer, and I'm just going to pull it out really quick and show you guys what it looks like. So you can see, oven is still at 350. And this is what it looks like right now. So you can see it's still a little light there. My lighting's not that great, sorry, but it's definitely browner for sure. But look at that bad boy. Poof! So I'm going to temp check it really quick so that we know. So I'm going to put it just right down. It depends. You could kind of do it this way if you don't want to poke a hole in your loaf. Like in the top of your loaf. And I am checking to make sure my oven is still at 350. I'll be checking these things, people. Or that's how it doesn't end up turning out right. Now, one thing I want to mention, and it's kind of a weird tip. Do I have chocolate on my face? Sorry, I was making another batter. I always tell people, they're like, how do you know it's done or whatever? And for me, this is kind of a weird tip, but like, I always like kind of wait for the smell. Like, you know, the smell of fresh baked cookies or the smell of a cake or the smell of fresh baked bread. Usually right around when you really start to smell it, just like not opening the oven, but you could just smell, you know, the house or the place starts to smell like that fresh baked item. You're usually really friggin' close to that perfect temp. So pay attention to that. Our temp on the bread on the inside right now is about 142. So 30 minutes and we're at 142. So like I mentioned earlier, and then you see when you pull this out, do you see how there's still like a bit of the goo? We're going to put this bad boy back in. And again, oven temp is at 350. And we're going to set it for another, we did 30 minutes the first time. And like I said, it's probably 45 minutes to an hour at least, because we're not in like a big commercial oven. And even in ours, it takes quite a while. So I'm going to put it back in at, we'll do 25 more minutes. And we'll check it. Unless I start to smell it first, then I will pull it and check it too. So, but I'll show you that. So I'm going to set this for another 25 minutes. And then we'll pull it. So I will see you in just a jiff. Our timer is about to go off for the additional 25 minutes. So this will be a total of 55 minutes in my oven at 350 degrees. Checked with the thermometer. I have my little cooling rack out. Like I said, what we're going to do, we're going to toss it out really quick and then flip it back upright so that it can cool properly, because you need to let it set so that everything in it, including like the xanthan gum and everything, can just really set in. Don't want to just cut into it right away, or it can just make it look kind of like gummy and icky. So don't do that. Okay, so we're right there, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull it. Piece of ignore the dinger thingy bob. I don't really know how to shut it off. Like I said, I thought it would be cute to have like a normal one, but maybe I need like a vintage one. So, also, just to point out, I can smell the bread right now. So, like, see what I mean? I can literally smell like the smell of like fresh baked bread right now. And so that's giving me also a secondary clue. It's not smelling burnt or anything. I could just smell the bread. Now, at this point, again, if you like your bread really, really well done, you're welcome to leave it in there as long as you like. Just check your internal temp and make sure your internal temp's at like 2078, 210. So that's what we're gonna do. This thing looks glorious. So just always checking when my oven is open. It is still at 350. Now can you see? I mean, again, my lighting's not the best in the whole wide world, but like, check that out. And our internal temp is literally, I don't know if you can see it, we are like literally right over at like 207 right now and climbing up just a hair. So we are good to go. Now watch, when I pull this guy out, there's still just a teeny bit of goo there. That's because the xanthan gum hasn't totally fully set yet. Remember, you gotta let these things rest. So we're gonna flip it over. See how freaking easy, oh shoot, that came out. That's because we did that little bit of layer of, oh my gosh, guys. Like, now, that is a loaf of gluten-free bread. None of those tiny loaves, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a pretty nice little guy, I think, right there, don't you think? So we're gonna let this cool on our rack. We're not going to cut into it. Right now it's like midnight about. So I'm probably just gonna like cover it with a towel and then enjoy some really yummy fresh baked bread in the morning. Maybe if I'm feeling ambitious, I will make a French toast video. Sorry. I'm a nerd. It's fine. So long story short, this is our bread. It's gonna be gorgeous. I'm pretty excited. That is a beautiful loaf. I got really lucky. So, not lucky. I mean, it's kind of what I do all day. I better get it right. I do have something that I made in the meantime while I was waiting for that. Maybe as like a little sneak peeky. This is just like a little chocolate cake. The bakery is peanut free, and I have a really big thing for Reese's cups. So I can only have them at home. So this is actually a chocolate cake I'm going to throw in. May or may not be a upcoming flour blend. But I actually smashed up some Reese's and like put them on top for me because, I mean, you can't just throw a cake away, right? Yeah, so I'm going to pop this in and I'm going to let this cool. And then we'll go on to the next video. But I hope you guys like this. I hope it was helpful. Even if you're not using our flour, I hope you just remember the tips. Like, pay attention to those things. Use your thermometers in your oven. Use your thermometers in the product. Use your oven as a proofer. Don't get ants in your pants like I do and just want to put it in. You've got to wait until it really has proved, and you've got to give it the right atmosphere and climate in which to do that in, or it just isn't going to be, it's not going to do that. I can tell you that much. And I will try to remember to film a little snippet of me slicing into it so that you know I'm not just making things up. So you know what the inside looks like. Yeah, so whether you're like, just like maybe you're a dad and you don't know how to bake stuff, but your daughter or son or whomever is like jacked on it, or your girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever really is gluten-free and you just want to do something nice for him. My goal is to just, for these flour blends, to make it as simple and easy as possible. And you get my tangent videos to go with them. But again, I'm not speeding up the videos. I know the average, fun fact, average YouTube video for highest performance is 8 to 9 minutes. We are obviously over on that, but for me, when I watch videos and I'm learning to do something, I like to watch that process. Obviously, I'm not gonna let you watch the bread rise, but I do really like to show you each step by step. That way, it's slowly done and it's explained. Because if you really are like a complete beginner, there are things I'm gonna do that I'm not gonna realize or remember that you don't know. And so I'm trying to slow down and remember to explain each thing, because when it's just what you do all day long every day, you're gonna forget. So that being said, if you want to try some of our flour blends, it's gfgalaxy.com. You can also order fully finished product there as well. Please follow us on the gram and subscribe, and then also Facebook. And we do make Pop-Tarts, which are fire. If you have not had them yet, we can barely keep them in stock. They're literally gone. I guess they're not technically a Pop-Tart. We'll call them a Pop Art, because they are literally pieces of art. They are time consuming. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful night, day, whenever you're watching this. Yeah, please leave me any kind of feedback, preferably happy feedback, because it's all about good vibes, or things you'd like to see, or anything I can maybe help you with. Just leave me a comment or shoot us an email or something and let us know. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed our bread session, and I'll see you very soon. Probably wearing the same outfit. Okay. Bye, guys. Hey guys, we're back. It is now morning where I am, or here in Boise. So wherever you're watching this, or whenever you're watching this, we've now let the bread set to cool overnight. Our beautiful, glorious loaf. And the last thing I wanted to do is I just wanted to cut it open and kind of show you guys what the inside of it looks like, so that you know maybe what to expect, or you can know whether or not you'd like to try our version, or if you like the way that this recipe would work. So let me get my knife. When cutting bread, you want to use the bread knife that it has the serrated on it. See it? Mine has some little stains on it, but this guy is going to be best for slicing the bread. And then you want to go in a sawing motion. Don't just push down and jam. It's going to smush your bread and ruin it. So let's see here. I'll give you a good little, see if you can see as I slice it. Sorry, I'm trying to get you a good angle, but I'm definitely right-handed. So I probably do this on a cutting board, not on your rack. So I'll show you. This is, that is one glorious little loaf. I got a little pocket right there, but that is not bad. It's tiny. So, and you can see it's fluffy. I don't know, I don't want to mangle the bread to show you, but it's like a gushy bread, right? It's not super, super hard like a lot of gluten-free breads can be. And it's got, as I try to slice my finger off, I do that. I probably shouldn't be allowed to have sharp objects. But you see it, it's actual bread. It's freaking delicious. That's all I know. So, thank you. I hope you liked the video. Sorry it was a little long, but I want to make sure everybody gets all the tips and tricks, and that way, hopefully it can prevent, some issues, because I know how frustrating it can be when you're trying to make something, you just can't seem to get it to come out right. So, have a wonderful day, night, morning, whatever it is, wherever it is you are, and I hope you enjoyed. And I hope you get to eat some yummy bread. I think I'm probably gonna make some French toast with this right now. So maybe I'll film it. Who knows? Thanks, guys.